My hair has been doing some interesting things lately, so hat it is. Hi kids! Today we're gonna learn about herpes! There are 9 different strains of the herpes virus that can infect humans. About 90% of people all over the entire world will either come into contact or have one type of these herpes at least some point in their life. One type of herpes, herpes 3, is known as herpes zoster, and it's normally known as shingles. Another type of herpes that's common is herpes 4, which is known as the Epstein-Barr virus, which is mononucleosis. But today, we're going to be focusing on herpes simplex virus 1 and herpes simplex virus 2, from here on out referred to as HSV1 or HSV2. 2 out of 3 people have HSV1, the virus that causes cold sores. Herpes simplex 1, HSV1, is often acquired during childhood, like during kisses from older family members, like your weird great uncle or something that kissed you when you were on the mouth when you were 3. Or it can also be spread when you're older during sexual contact or kissing. HSV2 is primarily sexually transmitted. But even though HSV1 likes to live around the mouth area and HSV2 likes to live around the genital area, they both have been known to kind of swap areas. In fact, about half of genital herpes cases are caused by HSV1, the same virus that causes cold sores. 2 out of 3 people have HSV1, the virus that causes cold sores. 1 out of 6 people have genital herpes. 1 out of 5 women have genital herpes, and 1 out of 4 New Yorkers have genital herpes. Herpes can be spread during an outbreak where there are cold sores visible or genital sores visible. But it can also be spread when there are no symptoms at all. This is known as asymptomatic shedding. It's estimated that 70% of herpes cases have been transmitted from somebody who had no prior symptoms. This is where things start to get interesting, because 4 out of 5 people who have herpes don't know they have it. Because 4 out of 5 people who have herpes are asymptomatic, which means they don't show symptoms, which means they don't know they have it. Or sometimes symptoms can be so mild that they can easily be mistaken for a pimple or an ingrown hair. Like most people, when I was in high school, I learned all about STIs, and I saw those terrible pictures of herpes just all over the screen on those stupid slideshows. About 90% of people who have herpes don't experience that chaotic nightmare that was shown to us in the slideshows. So when you saw those photos of herpes being all blisters everywhere, that's the exception, not the rule. So if herpes isn't a big deal for about 90% of the people who have it, why does it have the big stigma it does? Well, I have 2 words for you. Big Pharma. Yeah, of course. As of late 1975, OBGYN and gynecological nursing textbooks didn't even mention herpes. This is because it was thought no worse than the common cold and just as common. Everything changed though when a drug company called Burroughs Wellcome invented a new drug called acyclovir. Acyclovir was shown to slow down outbreaks of herpes, but considering everyone who had herpes didn't care that they had herpes or didn't even know that herpes was a thing, the company decided that it had to sell this drug somehow. Instead of marketing their drug, they decided to market herpes. They posted ads everywhere about how disgusting herpes was. The company even created support groups. How evil is that? It basically gave people the idea that herpes was this big terrible thing and the only thing you could possibly do was take their drug. All because a company wanted to sell us drugs. And I know you're probably wondering, how do I know all this? Well, I was diagnosed with OCD when I was 15 years old, and I've had a lot of anxiety throughout my life. So I had OCD mixed with health anxiety at the same time, and I developed this huge fear of herpes. No matter what I was doing, I'd be reading, all of a sudden I'd get a flash of an image of herpes, and I'd be like, oh my god, have I ever seen that on myself? I don't know, I just have to make sure. So I'd go and read all about herpes as much as I could, look at all the pictures. It was truly terrible. And that would only keep me good for about 30 minutes, and then I'd be minding my own business, and all of a sudden, boom, again. Repeat and repeat and repeat. I had to read more and more things until I learned as much as I do about herpes. What can I do except share this information? And now I know what you're thinking. But Darla, I'm a responsible sexual adult and I get tested regularly and I've always come out clean, so I'm fine, right? Well, friend, two things. Number one, good on you for getting tested regularly. It shows a lot of responsibility and consideration for your future partners, and more people should be like you. But number two, you probably weren't tested for herpes. That's because most STI tests test for everything but herpes. Don't believe me? Google it. You have to request a special blood test for herpes, and even then, most doctors will discourage you from doing it unless you're actively showing symptoms. I had to go to a special lab and pay $80 just to get this one blood test to see if I had herpes. I don't, but throughout the whole process I learned a lot about it, and I figured I'd share with all of you. Just so you know. Now that you learned all about herpes, I hope you know a few points. Number one, you probably could have herpes, and number two, it's really not that big of a deal. I wanted to make this video just so we can end the stigma around HSV2, because it's just the same as HSV1. Like, you see a cold sore on somebody's mouth, like, and it's not a big deal, and so is genital herpes. I don't know about you, but I don't want to let big pharma and just capitalism as a whole dictate how I want to treat other people who have this really common thing. Or if I develop it at some point in my life, why am I going to be sad just because a company a long time ago wanted to sell their drugs to all kinds of people? Not me. So next time somebody makes a joke about herpes, you should try to end the stigma around it, because the sooner you do, the sooner people can realize that it's just a normal thing that happens sometimes. Well, that's that. I don't think I have anything else to say. See you next time. I wonder if it's possible to learn Tupac or Snoop Dogg on the harmonica.